So I do most of my coin collecting through my change that I get back after breaking a bill. And in the course of coin collecting, I often come across a coin that, although not collectible, is interesting in one way or another. And I usually go to the internet to try to find out an explanation for what I'm seeing. And this is a coin that I found recently, and it's a quarter that has been painted red at some point. And you can see that a lot of the paint is chipped off over time, but it looks pretty cool. It has kind of a stylized look to it that it could be on a t-shirt or something, or a baseball cap. But and as you might have noticed, it's a 1965, which means that it's a pretty old quarter. 64 and before were made of silver, so this was the first year that they made them out of nickel-clad copper. And like I said, I consulted the internet and I came across a good web page. It's actually somebody's blog, a gentleman by the name of Len Penzo, and it's his website. And I'm going to give you the link in the description, and I encourage you to check out his website. I highly recommend it. I want to make sure that I'm giving credit where credit is due. But he wrote a decent article entitled "4 Good Reasons Why Some Quarters Are Painted Red." And I'm going to read to you some of the highlights here. One of the main reasons: they're old test coins. Repairmen used them to check out coin-operated payphones, and the coins were marked so that they wouldn't be accused of stealing. Second reason: they were house money. Red quarters sometimes used by business owners as perks. They'd give them to their preferred customers for free plays on the coin-operated pool tables, pinball machines, and video games. Red quarters were also used by waitresses to prime otherwise quiet jukeboxes in order to encourage other patrons to add their own quarters and keep the music coming. Third reason, which is one of the more interesting reasons: somebody painted it as an act of defiance. According to Answers.com, the red coins were part of a campaign in the 1970s to protest New Jersey's officials' decision to increase the toll on Garden State Parkway from 15 cents to a quarter. So that would be kind of interesting if this coin were used in some kind of protest. And it would be right for the date on the quarter would be appropriate, because that was in the 1970s and this is a 65, so it's definitely within the realm of possibility. And then the fourth one: they were once used for free laundry. For some apartment managers, free laundry is apparently a fringe benefit. Landlords would give the building supervisors red quarters to use. They'd get the quarters back. So, very similar reasons, except for that protest reason, but basically they're just used to mark the quarters so that businesses can get them back, and it's mostly kind of for accounting purposes. As an addendum, I actually checked out some of the comments that people made on this article, and they say some interesting things. Still kind of along the lines of, like, they're just to mark the quarters so that they are not counted as revenue, so that the employees can use them, or preferred customers. One person mentioned that there was an arcade that had some kind of promotion, 5 quarters for $1 if you have a certain coupon, and the quarters were all red, and that was to basically determine what percentage of the quarters that they gave out were actually used at their establishment, and how many were taken away and used for laundry or something else. And then perhaps the most interesting of the reasons that quarters might be painted red. Somebody mentioned that they had heard that they were the original blood coins in Alcoholics Anonymous. That Alcoholics Anonymous AA facilitators would paint quarters red, and they would give the quarters to the AA people and say, if you have the urge to have a drink, put this quarter in your mouth and see if it melts. And if it does melt, then you must be really thirsty, so go ahead and have a drink. But if it doesn't melt, call your sponsor and don't take a drink. So kind of a more unusual explanation for these red quarters. But that's pretty much it. All of the other ones I read. So one guy did mention that he owned an arcade in the 80s, and the red paint would eventually chip off the quarters and would kind of gum up the works, the mechanisms in the arcade machines. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So I think I'll go ahead and sign off there.